Ever tried to stream your favorite show, like during a gaming marathon at your place?
Uh-huh.
And the internet just grinds to a halt.
Yeah.
Like everyone's fighting for a slice of the same bandwidth.
Right.
But what if I told you there's a technology that could, like, supersize that bandwidth pie
Okay.
using antennas?
And it's not magic.
Okay.
It's MIMO.
MIMO.
Multiple input, multiple output.
Okay.
So instead of a single antenna struggling to send and receive all that data, MIMO uses multiple antennas
Okay.
to create multiple pathways.
More antennas, more pathway.
Exactly.
Got it. But how does that actually help? It seems like it would just make things messier.
So think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you're at a party, you're trying to have a conversation
Right.
in a crowded room, and everybody's talking at once.
It's like impossible to hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear anything, right?
Right.
That's what it's like for wireless signals trying to share a single antenna.
So the signals are all jumbled up, like a bunch of voices competing for attention.
Exactly. Now imagine if instead of everyone crammed together, each person had their own designated microphone spaced apart from the others.
Okay.
Suddenly it becomes much easier to distinguish the individual voices.
Right.
That's what MIMO does for wireless signals.
So each antenna is like a dedicated microphone.
Yes.
Giving each data stream its own, like, clear channel.
You got it. Each antenna picks up the signals. But because of their different locations,
Okay.
they receive slightly different versions. We can visualize these unique signal patterns on a graph, and MIMO uses those patterns to separate overlapping signals,
Oh.
like untangling a knot.
So it's like each antenna has its own perspective on the signal.
That's a great way to put it.
And by combining those perspectives,
Yes,
MIMO can decode the individual data streams.
you got it, with remarkable accuracy.
Wow.
This is the key to unlocking those faster speeds and greater capacity.
You mentioned something earlier about MIMO supersizing the bandwidth pie.
Yes.
Is that where this whole spatial multiplexing thing comes in?
You are right on track. Spatial multiplexing is the secret sauce that lets MIMO really shine.
Okay.
Imagine a multi-lane highway
Okay.
instead of a single-lane road.
Okay.
Spatial multiplexing is like sending multiple cars down those lanes simultaneously, instead of having them all line up and wait their turn.
Oh, so instead of just one stream of data at a time, MIMO allows for multiple streams to travel at the same time.
Exactly.
That's a game changer.
And that's precisely why MIMO is at the heart of so many technologies you use every day. Your super fast Wi-Fi, those blazing 5G speeds you've heard about. It's all thanks to MIMO working behind the scenes.
This is already blowing my mind, and we're just getting started. Before we get to the really mind-blowing stuff, let's take a quick detour to talk about SIMO.
Okay.
You mentioned it's like a stepping stone to understanding MIMO.
Right.
What's the difference?
SIMO stands for single input, multiple output. Think of it like this. Imagine you have one friend, and they're whispering a secret.
Okay.
But you have several friends with you, all listening intently.
So with SIMO, we've got, like, multiple ears tuned in.
Right.
Trying to decipher that secret message. How does that actually help compared to just having one person listening?
It's all about getting a clearer signal. Each friend listening, in our scenario,
Right.
is like a separate antenna receiving the signal.
Right.
They might each hear the whisper slightly differently, depending on where they're standing.
Because the sound waves reach them at slightly different times?
Yes.
And with varying levels of, like, background noise.
Precisely. SIMO takes advantage of those subtle differences through a clever technique called maximal ratio combining.
Maximal ratio combining.
It's like each friend telling you what they heard,
Right.
and you kind of intelligently combine their stories to filter out the noise and piece together the clearest version of the secret.
So it's like having multiple perspectives on the same whisper.
Yeah.
And by merging those perspectives,
Right.
SIMO boosts the signal strength and clarity.
Exactly. And this is where the concept of a spatial signature comes into play.
Okay.
Remember how each antenna, or in our case, each friend,
Yeah.
receives the signal a bit differently
Right.
due to their position?
Right.
Those differences create a unique pattern,
Okay.
like a fingerprint for the signal.
So each antenna's location creates a unique spatial signature for the incoming signal.
You've got it. And this spatial signature is what allows SIMO to distinguish between signals,
Okay.
even if they're on the same frequency.
Wow.
Imagine your friends trying to overhear whispers from different groups at a party,
Right.
because each whisper has a unique spatial signature based on where it's coming from.
Right.
Your friends can focus on the one they want to hear.
That makes sense. It's like having like a built-in filter that can pinpoint the desired signal amidst potential interference.
Exactly. Now imagine taking this concept of multiple receivers
Okay.
and applying it to the transmitting side as well.
Oh.
That's where the true magic of MIMO comes in.
So instead of one friend whispering a secret, we now have multiple friends whispering different secrets, each with their own set of listening friends.
Yes.
My head is spinning.
It might seem chaotic,
Yeah.
but MIMO brings order to this complexity.
Okay.
Remember our highway analogy?
Yes.
With MIMO, we're not just adding more lanes to the highway.
Right.
We're also adding more cars to those lanes,
Okay.
each carrying its own data.
So MIMO not only amplifies the signal,
Right.
but also allows for sending multiple data streams simultaneously.
Exactly.
That's incredible. How does it even keep track of everything?
That's where those unique spatial signatures come in again.
Okay.
MIMO exploits the fact that signals from different transmitting antennas will arrive at the receiving antennas
Okay.
with their own distinct patterns.
Right.
It's like each transmitting antenna is sending out a coded message, and the receiving antennas, working together,
Yeah.
can decipher those codes based on their spatial signatures.
So even though the signals might overlap in the air, MIMO can still tell them apart
Yes.
thanks to those spatial fingerprints.
Exactly.
That's some next level signal processing.
It is. And this ability to untangle and decode multiple simultaneous data streams
Right.
is what gives MIMO its incredible power
Yeah.
to boost data speeds and capacity. It's like having multiple conversations happening in the same room,
Yeah.
but everyone can still understand each other perfectly.
There's mind-blowing. It's amazing to think that all this complexity is happening behind the scenes whenever we use our phones, our laptops, even smart home devices.
Absolutely. MIMO is the invisible force that's driving the wireless revolution.
Right.
But there's even more to it.
Okay, I'm hooked. What else comes into play when we talk about MIMO in the real world? I imagine things like antenna placement
Yes.
and the surrounding environment must have some impact.
Yeah, it's got to be more complicated than just sticking a bunch of antennas together and
Yeah.
calling it a day, right?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
It's a bit like
Okay.
arranging a symphony orchestra. You
Yeah.
can't just have all the instruments playing at once.
Right. Without any thought to their placement
Right.
or the acoustics of the room.
So as MIMO, what are the key things to consider when setting up these antenna arrays? Like, does size matter?
It's not just about size, it's about strategic placement.
Okay.
The antennas need
Yeah.
enough breathing room, so to speak.
Okay.
If they're too close together,
Yeah.
their signals will overlap too much,
Right.
and it becomes difficult to separate them at the receiver.
Right.
Imagine our whispering friends again.
Sure.
If they're all huddled together,
Yeah.
it's much harder to distinguish individual voices.
Right. Right. It's all about striking that balance, like
Yes.
maximizing the number of antennas
Exactly.
while ensuring they have enough space
Yes,
to create those distinct spatial signatures.
precisely.
Yeah.
And that's just one piece of the puzzle. Remember how we talked about how the
Uh-huh.
environment can affect how sound waves travel?
Right. Yeah.
Well, the same is true for wireless signals.
Right.
Walls, buildings, trees, even furniture
Wow. Okay.
can cause signals to bounce around,
Yeah.
creating multiple paths
Okay.
for the signal to travel.
That sounds like it could make things even more chaotic.
It does.
Like those whispering friends are now in a hall of mirrors.
Exactly.
So how does MIMO handle that kind of complexity?
It's surprisingly good at it.
Okay.
MIMO is designed to take advantage of these multiple paths,
Okay.
which we call multipath propagation.
Multipath propagation.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
If you're trying to get a message across a crowded room, having multiple friends relay that message through different routes,
Right.
increases the chances of it getting through clearly.
So in a way, a more complex environment with more reflections can actually be a good thing for MIMO.
Exactly. These multiple paths increase something called degrees of freedom,
Okay.
which, to put it simply,
Yeah.
means more potential routes for our data.
More degrees of freedom, more data, faster speeds.
Exactly.
Sounds like a win-win.
It's like adding more lanes to our data highway.
Right.
But of course, there are always limits. We can't have infinite data streams.
Right.
But understanding this interplay between antennas, the environment, and degrees of freedom
Yeah.
is crucial for optimizing MIMO's performance.
It's amazing how MIMO can take what seems like chaos, signals bouncing all over the place, and turn it into an advantage.
It's a testament to the ingenuity of the engineers who developed this technology.
Right.
And we've only just scratched the surface of what MIMO can do.
Wow.
As we move toward even more data-intensive applications like virtual reality, self-driving cars,
Yeah.
MIMO will be essential in shaping the future of wireless communication.
It really makes you appreciate, like, the next time that you're seamlessly streaming a movie
Right.
or downloading a huge file.
Yes.
There's some serious antenna magic happening behind the scenes.
A lot going on.
It's like having, a team of invisible helpers
Yeah.
working tirelessly to deliver your data faster and more reliably than ever before.
Absolutely.
So next time your internet is lagging, just think
Yeah.
MIMO to the rescue.